Have you ever felt like someone is watching you and without touching you something in you drains? Have you ever left a meeting feeling drained as if you had absorbed emotions that were not yours? What you are about to discover is not an amulet or a fad or a superstition. It is more an ancient key, a silent symbol of spiritual power, a red line tied with intention that marks the threshold between you and the world. The red thread on the left wrist is not just an exotic gesture or a meaningless esoteric practice. It is the echo of a forgotten wisdom, a living tool that ancient sages used not to decorate, but to protect, to remember, to choose, because energy, although invisible, moves like the wind, and where there is no closed door, everything enters what is said and what is not said, the good and what intoxicates in ancient spiritual teachings, from the silent corridors of Kabbalistic temples to the most reserved Hermetic practices, a profound truth was understood. The left side of the human body is a channel of energetic reception, is not random, it is not metaphorical, it is a vibrational fact. Through there enters the subtle, through there sneak disguised intentions, other people's emotions, the vibrations that you did not ask for. And then what does the thread do? The red thread does not block your humanity, does not enclose your sensitivity. What it does is act as a spiritual filter, a silent guardian, a symbol that, if placed with consciousness, tells the universe, I choose, that enters my field. But here is the real secret. The thread alone does not protect anything. Without intention, it is just a fragment of wool without purpose. It is just another accessory. The true power is not in the object, but in the internal decision that activates it, in the energy with which it is tied, in the clarity with which it is consecrated. Because the red thread is not for everyone. It is for those who have decided to awaken, for those who have understood that their energy is not at the disposal of chaos. In this video, we are going to unravel the mystery of the red thread on the left wrist. We will explore its roots in the esoteric wisdom. We will discover what really happens when you carry it with purpose. And most importantly, you will learn how to turn a simple gesture into a powerful spiritual tool, because protecting your field is not fear, it is awareness and your soul. Although strong, also deserves care. In the ancient schools of wisdom, before spirituality was packaged as a consumer product, there was a silent knowledge passed by word of mouth, from master to disciple. In gestures and symbols in that world, the visible was no more real than the physical, was not more valuable than the energetic. And in this multidimensional universe, protecting the vibratory field was as essential as taking care of the body. One of the most fundamental principles of this wisdom was the energetic asymmetry of the human body. The right side was said to be the emission channel. The left side was said to be the reception channel. It is not an arbitrary detail. It is part of the energetic architecture of the incarnated soul. The left side represents the feminine, the intuitive, the receptive. It is the side of the moon, of the unconscious inner world, and like every receptive channel, it is exposed to what comes from the environment, to unfiltered emotions, to thoughts that float without an owner. In the mystical Kabbalah, the left arm is associated with the pillar of judgment, and the wrist, that point where the energy of the heart meets the action of the hand, is seen as a threshold, the last frontier between what you feel and what you absorb. This is where the red thread comes in, not as a fetish, but as a seal, as a vibratory code, as a declaration symbolic. From this point on, only what I allow enters this thread. Traditionally, of red wool was tied not out of vanity or custom, but as a ritual act. It was not placed at random. It was a tool of the wise, of those who understood that living awake is also living with limits. In many ancient cultures, the color red was not decorative, it was vibrational. It was attributed to the frequency of fire, not the destructive fire, but the fire that delimits, that consecrates, that purifies. In ancient Mesopotamia, in Egypt, among the Hebrew peoples, and in hidden branches of Hinduism, red marked the sacred. A red ribbon around something meant that something had been energetically sealed and was not always visible. True initiates did not need to show it. They knew that the power of the thread was not in being seen, but in being felt, in being activated, in representing a vibrational border between the soul and the environment. The red thread did not block empathy or sensitivity, but rather refined it, directed it, and turned it into choice. Conscious today, in a world saturated with noise, recovering, this ancestral gesture is not a return to the past, is an act of inner Revolution, because wearing a red thread with consciousness is not. Superstition is living. Alchemy is remembering that the body is a temple, and that each temple needs a door and each door a guardian. Imagine your body as a living temple, not of stone or marble, but of energy in movement, of light that breathes. Each part has a purpose, each channel a direction, and in the middle of this subtle architecture there are points that they function as doors, places where the external can enter and the internal can exit. One of those points is the left wrist. The wrist is not just a joint, it is a vortex, an energetic node where the lines of the heart, emotion, lung, breath, and pericardium cross. Emotional protection is essentially an intersection between deep feeling and action in the world, and being part of the left arm, it becomes a subtle gateway, which is why in many spiritual traditions, when I wanted to consecrate the body, I didn't start with the head or the feet, but with the hands. Because the hands are an extension of the soul, they are the means by which we give and receive, and the red thread on the left wrist is precisely that, a symbol of protection in the channel of reception. Now then, why a thread? Why red? And why in that exact position is a thread discreet, simple, humble? It doesn't attract attention, but at the same time it is a bond, it links, it seals. In esoteric language, a thread represents continuity, a line that connects. Intentions, flat moments, and if that thread is red, then its frequency rises to the range of vibrational fire. Red not only represents strength, represents delimitation, is the color of the blood of the birth of life itself in its purest and most visceral state. When this thread is tied on the left wrist, a ritual act is being created, but not just any act, one that invokes energetic sovereignty. Is like drawing a vibratory line that tells the environment, here, my field begins here. I command. However, this symbol is so powerful, no matter what the intention is that activates it, whether you place it out of fashion, superstition, or imitation, nothing happens. It's like carrying a key without knowing which door it opens. The true power of the red thread is not in the object, but in the consciousness that accompanies it. The thread is a catalyst, a vehicle, but the one who decides to turn it on is you. It's like an energetic password. The thread works when it is charged with purpose. When tying it, you pronounce with internal clarity that this loop be my filter, that what is not mine does not penetrate me. May my field remain clear. By doing so, the thread not only acts as a reminder, it becomes an extension of your energetic will. This is the beginning of all true magic. The intention shapes the symbol. It is not the thread that protects. It is your consciousness projected onto it. It is not the wool that transforms. It is the energy you choose to assign to it. And it is not the act that matters, but the soul behind it. The red thread, then, is not a passive tool. It is a living seal, a guardian that responds to your clarity. It is like an invisible sentinel that, if it is activated with intention, it knows what to let in and what to keep out. In that sense, the thread does not isolate you. It orders you, it focuses you, it reminds you that you are not here to absorb everything, but to choose your frequency, and that choice begins with a gesture as simple as a knot. The red thread does not protect by itself. It protects because you turn it into a conscious boundary. It protects because by placing it, you are drawing an invisible limit, and respecting it is part of your spiritual practice. But here a less understood dimension appears. The limit not only protects from the outside, also organizes your inside. When you mark an energetic border on your left wrist, you are not only saying this does not enter, you are also affirming this is mine. This is what belongs to me. This is what I cultivate. You are recognizing your field as a sacred space, and that demarcation has a direct impact on your mental clarity, on your emotional health, and even on your karma. Because where there is no limit, there is confusion, and where there is confusion, foreign energies mix with your internal processes. You begin to carry blame. That is not yours, to resolve conflicts that do not belong to you, to get sick from emotions that you absorbed without realizing it. The red thread is then a living reminder of vibrational discernment. This is especially important if you are a sensitive empath or channeler. The invisible world touches you. Floating emotions stick, unspoken words weigh in without a filter. Your field becomes an open market where everything enters and almost nothing comes out. The red thread can be that sealed portal, that key that closes the way to the unnecessary and opens only what resonates with your essence. Now, there is a very common trap in the modern spiritual path to believe that the symbol replaces consciousness, wearing the thread as a fashion, as a mystical accessory, without having done the internal work, is not only useless, it can be counterproductive, because it makes you believe that you are protected, when in reality, you are open. This is what the ancient masters taught clearly. The symbol, without soul, is an empty shell. It is like wearing a paper armor. You see it, but you don't. It is useful because what activates the symbol is the sustained intention, the energetic coherence, the ritual respect. If you tie the thread in a moment of clarity, but then you let yourself be carried away by chaos, judgment, fear, the thread loses its vibration, because the guardian follows your will, not your desires. There are even those who tie it with rage, with a desire for revenge, with fear of the evil eye, and then the thread does not filter. It amplifies because the energy of the ritual is impregnated in the object. And if the intention is fear, that is what magnetizes it. That is why before placing it is vital to cleanse your emotional field. Clarify your purpose and declare, with vibrational firmness, what that act represents for you. Another profound key is to understand that the red thread is not only protection, it is a commitment to yourself. It is to tell yourself that I am not going to allow the world to confuse me with its projections. I'm going to take care of my energy as I take care of my body. So I'm going to remember that I am the owner of my limits and my openings. In certain schools of psychomagic, it is said that every time you look at the red thread on your wrist, you are touching an anchor, symbolic, a door back to your center, an umbilical cord with your wisest part, that part of you that doesn't need to defend itself from fear but from consciousness. Because in the end, the red thread is not about repelling the enemy. It's about not forgetting yourself. It's a mirror wrapped around your wrist, a fragment of fire that whispers to you every time you touch it here. Do not absorb what does not nourish. You do not carry what is not yours. Do not forget who you are. Knowledge does not transform. What transforms is the application. Knowing that the red thread has power. It is not enough. What makes the difference is how you wear it. When you wear it, and above all, with what awareness you activate it. Here are some tips to turn this symbol into a life practice, not an empty superstition. Do not use the red thread just because. Before tying it, ask yourself, what do I need to protect? What part of me is exposed or vulnerable? What am I willing to filter? From now on, the act of tying the thread must come from an internal choice, not from a fashion or fear. If you do not know what it represents for you, the thread will be just another accessory. Make the thread an extension of your energetic will to make the moment of placing it a ritual. The true power of the thread is not in the wool or in the color, but in the instant in which you turn it into a vibratory seal light, a white or red candle. Breathe deeply, visualize a sphere of light wrapping your left arm. Calmly tie the thread in 3 knots, while you repeat out loud or in your mind an affirmation like, this thread seals my energetic field only. That which raises my vibration is welcome. Do it with total presence. The ritual does not need to be complex. It just needs to be honest. 3. Observe how your body responds. Many times the body responds immediately when an object is correctly activated. You may feel warmth on your wrist, a wave of calm, or even a slight tingling in your chest. These are signs that your field has received the message. If you don't feel anything, don't worry. The thread acts even on the most subtle planes. But be careful. If the thread bothers you, falls constantly, or breaks for no apparent reason, listen to it. That is also a message. It may be that it has already fulfilled its function, or that your field needs another vibration at this moment. 4. Do not keep it forever. One of the most common mistakes is to carry the red thread indefinitely until it wears out and becomes a simple thread without energy. Every sacred symbol has a cycle. When the thread begins to fray or break, give it a closure, thank it, burn it with intention, or return it to the earth. And if you wish, consecrate a new one. This way you keep the energy of the act alive. You keep the consciousness behind the symbol 5 active. Combine it with real limits. The red thread is not a magic shield against all negative situations. It is a reminder and alignment tool, but you must complement that vibration with concrete actions. Learn to say no to get away from what lowers your energy, to protect your rest, your time, your silence. Do not use the thread as an excuse to not do the internal. Use it as a vibrational reinforcement of your decision to live in. Coherence, remember, it is not the knot that takes care of you, is your conscience, sustained in each gesture that transforms your life. There are those who walk through the world without knowing what they absorb, without knowing that the discomfort they feel is not theirs, that the rage they carry did not begin with them, that the sadness that weighs them down is borrowed. Memory not their own, wound, and there are those who in silence begin to understand that living with an open heart does not mean being exposed to chaos, that feeling deeply is not the same as absorbing indiscriminately, that protecting yourself is not isolating yourself. It is honor yourself in this silent, humble, and powerful awakening. The red thread appears as a symbol, a simple line invisible to the distracted eye, but burning for the soul that has begun to remember. Because it is no longer about the object, it is about what activates it in you. The red thread on your left wrist is not the magic solution to your problems. It will not make you invincible. It will not protect you from everything. But it can be the spark, the intention, the energetic declaration that marks a before and after. It can be the first step to tell yourself, enough of this. Carry what is not mine, enough of absorbing vibrations without filter from today. I decide what enters my field. I take care of my energy as I take care of my body, my soul, my peace, and believe. Me, that is no small thing, because we live in a world where distraction has become the norm, where symbols are trivialized, where energy is given away without measure. In this context, a gesture as simple as tying a thread with intention can be revolutionary. It can be an act of real magic, of psycho-magic, of reminder. Just as the wise men of antiquity, they did, you too can consecrate your own symbols. You can give them back their soul. You can walk through the world without closing yourself off, but also without getting lost. Your energetic field is sacred. Your soul is not here to be drained. It is here to create, to manifest, to connect. And that is only possible when you are in your center, firm and clear like a mountain of light. So I ask you, are you going to continue giving away your energy, or are you going to start honoring it? If this video ignited something in you, don't leave it there. Practice it, share it, use the thread with intention. And remember every day that the true amulet is not outside, it is in your conscience, and you decide to activate it or ignore it. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and like this video, share this knowledge with those you know who are ready to stop absorbing and start awakening. And if you want to seal your commitment, write it in the comments. I take care of my energy. I activate my conscience, because today more than ever the world needs fewer empty amulets and more awakened souls.